Hey folks, and welcome to another video in my Checkout Flight series, where we take a more involved look at interesting aircraft, scenery, or other types of add-ons for flight simulation. Business jets have become largely synonymous in the public imagination with the name Learjet, and that's because Learjet pioneered the business jet genre as we know it today. Even today's state-of-the-art aircraft like Bombardier's Global 7500 or Gulfstream's G700 can all trace their lineage to the original Learjet. While the Learjet 23 was not the first business jet on the market, it was Learjet that turned business aircraft into the sleek, fast, high-flying, must-have status symbols that they have become. Bill Lear actually developed the world's first autoland system, and he was already a well-known name in aviation prior to the founding of Learjet. But after his board of directors at Lear Incorporated rejected his concept for a business jet, Bill Lear quit, sold his shares in the company, and formed the Swiss-American Aircraft Corporation to redesign a little-known Swiss prototype fighter jet called a P-16 into the very first Learjet. Bill Lear then set up the Learjet Corporation in Wichita, Kansas, to further develop, test, and manufacture the very first Learjet. The Learjet 23 made its first flight in October of 1963. Just 9 months later, after no small amount of drama, I might add, the aircraft was certified by the FAA and became a hit in the fledgling business jet market. Capable of cruising at flight level 410, the Lear 23 could outclimb and outrace most commercial jet airliners of the day. It provided Rolls-Royce-like comfort for 6 passengers. In fact, when one prospective client complained that he couldn't stand up in a Learjet, Bill Lear is purported to have responded, "You're absolutely right, and you can't stand in your bleeping Rolls-Royce either." The legend goes that the prospective client in question promptly placed an order for the Lear 23. Following the success of the Lear 23, Learjet developed the Lear 24 and 25. The turbofan-powered Learjet 35 entered the market in 1974 and could carry up to 8 passengers. The upgraded Model 35A had newer Garrett TFE 731 engines and a range of 2,789 miles. Despite its introduction to service in the 1970s, the Lear 35 still sees wide usage today among private, corporate, and air taxi operators. With its distinctive wingtip tanks, the Learjet 35 certainly has truly striking ramp appeal. Flysimware has actually gone far beyond just skin deep, however. They've simulated some of the distinctive flight dynamics and systems of this aircraft using input from real-world Lear 35 pilots. The Lear 35A is much more akin to a flying high-performance sports car, and it really is quite challenging to fly and operate in the sim. So we're here at the General Aviation Terminal at Monterey Airport in California, and we're going to fly the Flysimware Lear 35 to Sedona, Arizona. Okay folks, let's walk up to this beautiful airplane here, and we'll do our pre-flight. And part of that pre-flight, by the way, will include something that we don't do very often in flight simulation, and that is an external walk-around. An external walk-around is an incredibly important part of pre-flighting an aircraft in real life, and something we don't get to do very often in flight simulation, and I thought it'd be a great way to check out some of the awesome exterior modeling of this beautiful aircraft from Flysimware. But let's hop in the cockpit and the flight deck here, and we'll power this up first, and then we'll do our external walk-around. Okay, welcome aboard the flight deck. We're cold and dark. We do have the GPU connected, which is why our annunciator panel here is lit up. Let's go ahead and remove the yokes here so we can access our switches a little easier. Okay, so the yokes are hidden. Let's go ahead and do our power up procedure very, very quickly. BAT 1 and BAT 2 on. Then we'll confirm that we have DC volts. We've got 28 volts, that's good. Turn on the primary inverter. Standby battery, AC bus to primary. Standby emergency battery. And let's turn on the avionics master. Secondary inverter can be turned on as well. And we'll turn on the power to the primary and secondary yaw dampers. Let's turn on the hydraulic pump here. And we'll set flaps to 8 for the walk around. Flaps extended. Make sure that our parking brake is set. It is. Let's go ahead and turn off the hydraulic pump there. And we'll turn on the nav lights just to indicate externally to the ground crew that we do have the aircraft powered up. Okay, that's it for the power up for now. Before we go any further, we'll go ahead and do our walk around while we wait for our passengers to arrive here. Okay, let's do our external walk around. So we're going to start at the door here, and we're going to work our way around the aircraft clockwise during the walk around. Okay, we're going to start up here at the windshield. We're going to check the pilot defog outlet here, just make sure there's no obstructions or blockages. Then we'll look down at the left side of the nose here and make sure that the covers are removed from the pitot static head. Make sure there's no obstructions, blockages, and we'll make sure the angle of attack wane is free to move, and we'll leave it in the down position there. Then we'll come around to the nose here, and we'll actually take a few steps back. And what we're doing here, and this is something that's done in real life regardless of the aircraft you're flying, this is a very technically sophisticated procedure that's part of pre-flight known as the "did this airplane get hit by a truck since the last time it was flown" test. So what you're doing is checking to make sure there's no obvious signs of damage, any dings, dents, scratches, things like that, any sort of obvious major damage the aircraft might have taken since the last time it was left unattended. Okay, then we'll come down to the wheel well here. We'll just put our head up there and make sure that everything looks good. There's no obstructions, blockages, that the gear mechanism looks okay. And of course, one other thing you always want to do in real life is check to make sure there have been no critters or anything like that that might have crawled up in there since the last time this aircraft was flown. Then we'll check the tire, make sure that it's properly inflated. We go ahead and remove the chocks. Check proper inflation of the tire. Check that the chines on the sides of the tire there look okay. That all looks good. Then we'll move over here to the left side of the nose. Check the pitot static head on this side. Again, make sure there's no obstructions or blockages. The covers are removed. Check for free movement at the angle of attack stall warning wane there. And we'll check that the static port over there is also clear of any obstructions or blockages. Come up to the windshield on this side of the airplane, make sure there's no scratches, cracks, things of that nature. Check the defog outlet there, and also make sure that's clear of any obstructions and blockages, that looks okay. Okay, then we'll come down the side of the fuselage here, just make sure that all the antennas and everything looks okay. We'll kind of bend down, of course, and check the rotating beacon. Come up to the wing here. We'll take a look at the engine nacelle. Make sure the engine inlet looks okay and the fan blades look okay. We're going to inspect the right main landing gear here, make sure that the tire looks properly inflated, and we'll take a look up into the wheel well once again, just make sure there's no obstructions or blockages, and once again that there have been no critters that have found refuge in the wheel well that could cause any unpleasant surprises later on. We'll take a look at the top surface of the wing, leading edge of the wing here. The condition of the wing looks good. We'll come around here to these very distinctive wingtip tanks, and there's a recognition light on each wingtip. Make sure that the recognition light looks okay and no bulbs burned out or anything like that. Come around to the left side here, or the right side of the airplane, and check that the nav light, strobe light, bulbs look okay, and we'll make sure that the fuel tank cap there is on securely. Come around back here, make sure the static wicks look okay. And we'll also check that the fuel jettison tube there, we'll just inspect that as well. So all that looks good. Then we'll come around to the trailing edge of the wing, check for free and correct movement of the aileron here. And we'll also check to make sure the balance tab is moving as it should. The control column and rudder pedals are mechanically linked to the ailerons, elevators, and rudder of this aircraft. And the balance tab, of course, and the ailerons help kind of reduce control forces in the control column in the cockpit. Come closer to the wing root here. We'll make sure that the flap looks properly extended. We set it at the 8-degree position earlier. And we'll check that the spoiler is flush with the upper surface of the wing. So all that looks great. Okay, we'll come around to the backside of the engine here and make sure that the reverser is stowed. Come back around to the tailpipe of the engine here, the nozzle, and just make sure everything looks good. Then we'll come back around to the backside of the airplane, and once again, just like before, we're going to take a few steps back, give the airplane the once over. Always very good practice. Then we'll come down here to the tail cone access door, make sure that's properly secured. Some Lear 35s do have a drag chute that actually can be stowed up in that tail cone access door. I don't think we have that installed in this particular airframe though, but you just want to make sure that tail cone access door is properly secured. So that all looks good. Once again, we'll come back here to the engine exhaust area, make sure the reverser is properly stowed. That all looks great. And we've got the external card here, the GPU connected to the aircraft, providing some external power, and that's going to remain connected all the way through engine start, at which point we'll have the ground crew disconnect. Then we'll come back to the trailing edge of the left wing here, and we'll make sure the flap is in the correct position, 8 degrees down, where we set it earlier. Make sure that the spoiler is flush with the top surface of the wing, and we'll check the left aileron here for free and correct movement. That looks great as well. And once again, the balance tab is moving as it should. So that's awesome. And earlier when we were here at the backside of the airplane, of course, looking at the empennage, you want to make sure that the light up there looks good. It's functioning correctly. Static wicks look okay. Horizontal stabilizer condition looks okay. Rudder looks good. Okay, let's come to the backside of the wingtip tank here. Check out the static wicks there, and the fuel jettison tube looks great. We'll check the red nav light and the strobe light bulb on this side. Make sure that the fuel tank cap there is on securely. And we'll check the recognition light on the front of the wingtip tank as well. Okay, then we'll come to the leading edge of the wing, check the upper surface of the wing, leading edge of the wing, make sure the condition looks good, and we'll check as well the left main landing gear there and the landing lights. One last thing we should have done, of course, was check the front of the engine here and just make sure that the engine inlet looks good, all the fan blades look okay. Okay, great. That's our walk around. That's complete. Let's hop back in here and we'll initiate our GTN 750s and put our flight plan in, and then we'll pick up our IFR clearance to Sedona, Arizona. Okay, welcome aboard once again. So this setup that I have here, this is the Flight 1 GTN 750, and I have 2 GTN 750 units here. It makes managing the flight a lot easier for me personally. I'm going to show you how over the course of this flight. But from what I could see online, looking at videos of real-world Learjet 35 pilots, this seems to be a not necessarily a common setup, but I've seen this setup 2 GTN 750s in some real-world Learjet 35 cockpits, so it works pretty well for me. Now, Flysimware apparently is developing a UNS-1 FMC for both the Falcon 50 and the Learjet 35, as rumor has it. It should be nice to eventually have a real functioning flight management computer for the Lear 35 that's fully integrated into this airplane. But for now, the GTN 750 works great. Okay, let's go ahead and load up our flight plans here. We're going to go to the flight plan page on Unit 1, and I've already preloaded a flight plan in my catalog, or pre-stored a flight plan in my catalog.
System test okay.
So I'm going to load that, activate it. and verify that it looks good. So Monterey 5 departure, we're off of runway 28 left, Shoei, Salinas, Avenal, Juliet 6 to Needles, Cadu, and then Sedona. Do the same thing on this side. We'll load up the flight plan there as well. Let me just make sure I've got the correct one in here. Put in Salinas. Okay, that looks great for now. And one thing I want to make sure I do is turn off or inhibit TOS so that I don't have dual alerts here, dual terrain alerts from both GTN 750s, so I've inhibited it on this side. So that all looks good there. I want to set my cabin pressure. We're going to be cruising at flight level 410 today, pretty high. And the Lear is more than capable of cruising all the way up to flight level 450. Okay, so cruising altitude set to flight level 410, and before takeoff, or once we start taxiing out, I'm going to turn on the cabin pressurization system. Okay, let's pick up the ATIS here.
Monterey Peninsula Airport. ATIS information Juliet. 0354 Zulu. Wind 140 at 3. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 11. Dew point 6. Altimeter 3010. Arriving and departing runways 28 left, 28 right.
Left, 28 right.
Visual approaches in use. VFR departures, contact clearance delivery. Advise on course heading, altitude, and if flight following is requested. Read call runway assignments and hold short instructions. Advise on initial contact. You have information Juliet.
Okay, we have Juliet.
Ray Peninsula.
And it looks like our passengers have come on board here, so let's go ahead and close up the doors here. So the door mechanism is beautifully simulated by Flysimware. So first the lower door is closed, then the upper door, then you want to latch the lower door. Now before you can actually latch the upper door, what you have to do is use this little black motor switch here to actually seal the door and engage all the hooks. So let's go ahead and do that. So you can hear the motor operating there, sealing the door. Once the door is sealed, we can then go ahead and latch the upper door as well. Now that both doors have been latched, what we want to do is actually release the motor. So we're going to do that. That way, in the event of an emergency that requires an emergency evacuation, all you need to do to get the door open in a hurry is just unlatch both the upper and lower doors and get the door open. But everything looks good there, and we'll make sure that up here in the announcer panel that the door light is out. So that looks great. And let's go ahead and pick up our IFR clearance from Monterey clearance here. Monterey clearance, good evening. Learjet 9025 Delta Mike with Juliet requesting IFR clearance to Sedona.
November 9025 Delta Mike, Monterey clearance, quick to the Sedona Airport, Monterey 5 departure, radar vectors Salinas, Avenal, J6, Needles, and then as filed. Maintain 6,000, departure frequency 121.3, squawk 5122.
Clear to Sedona via the Monterey 5 departure, radar vectors Salinas, then Avenal, Juliet 6, Needles, then as filed. Climb maintain 6,000, departure 121.3, and squawk 5122 for Learjet 9025 Delta Mike.
Learjet 5 Delta Mike, read back card.
Okay. Let's go ahead and set things up here. So 6,000 is going to be our initial climb altitude, and it's squawk 5122. And Monterey 5 departure, radar vector Salinas.
We're ready to taxi with information.
We're going to set a heading of 329er, which is our heading once we get past 1,100 feet on the Monterey 5.
left, taxi via Whiskey Bravo.
Let's go ahead and we'll do a departure brief here before we get going. Okay, this is going to be a standard left seat takeoff with reduced takeoff power at 91% N1, V1 122, rotate 132, V2 134. I've bugged V2. ATIS information, Juliet was current, winds 1503, 10 statute miles visibility, clear skies, temperature 11, dew point 06, altimeter 3010 now actually. And we're here at the General Aviation Terminal, Del Monte Aviation. Let's review the taxi route, pretty straightforward. Okay, from Del Monte at the GA Terminal here, we're going to taxi to hold short of 28 left via Alpha. And during the departure, for any malfunctions before V1, such as engine failure, fire, loss of control, or aircraft unsafe to fly, we'll apply maximum braking, exit off the runway if able, stop, then advise ATC of the issue. Any malfunctions after V1, we're going to continue the takeoff and treat it as an in-flight emergency. I'm going to handle the controls and advise ATC, and once I'm at a safe altitude, I'm going to go through the appropriate QRH procedures and checklists. Pending that, we're going to be departing with the Monterey 5 departure this afternoon off of runway 28 left, and the procedure is to climb on heading 278 until leaving 1100 feet, and then turn right on heading 329 to intercept the Salinas radial 264 westbound to Shoei. And top altitude for the sit is 7,000, but our initial climb clearance is 6,000. To note, of course, this is Class Charlie airspace, and since we're flying on PilotEdge, we want to comply with all applicable regulations, real world, and within Class Charlie airspace below 2,500 feet and within 4 nautical miles, we want to stay below 200 knots, which is very, very easy to exceed in an aircraft that climbs as fast and goes as fast as the Learjet 35A. So that's something we're going to watch out for. But other than that, no special considerations for weather or terrain, really. So that's it for our departure brief.
35.65, squawk 30.
Let's go through our start check here. Okay, fuel quantity, balance counters checked and zeroed. We'll check that the thrust levers are in the cutoff position there. That looks good. Make sure that our fuel pumps are on. Make sure that our fuel quantity is good, 3,500 pounds approximately. That's what we wanted. Make sure the fuel computers are on. They are. Bats on. Inverters, primary and secondary on. AC bus primary. Emergency standby battery. Air conditioning off, cabin door closed and light is out, belts and harness is on, parking brake is set, hydraulic pump is off, cell phones checked, coffee checked, very important, and start check is complete. Okay, let's go ahead and start up the engines here. So the start procedure is very, very straightforward on this aircraft. We're going to move our right generator switch into the start position, and you see the red light coming on to indicate the engine is starting up. And once the turbine speed, N2 up here, gets past 17%, we're going to move our thrust lever to idle. There's 17%, thrust lever to idle. You can hear the ignition coming on and the ignition light showing there. Had a light off, turbine temp coming up, N1, fan speed coming up.
Air 5 Mike Victor, contact departure.
And the engine start usually occurs pretty quickly. There we go. Ignition is complete. Start sequence is complete. The engine is stabilized. Let's go ahead and turn on our right generator now. Got to click on it twice. Move it into the full up position. Right generator is now on, and the lights are out. Same thing on the for the left engine. We'll move our left gen switch to the start position by right-clicking on it. Red light coming on there to indicate that engine is starting up. Turbine, N2 speed coming up. Once we're past 17%, we're going to go ahead and move the thrust lever for engine 2 or engine 1 into the idle position. Light off, turbine temps coming up, fan speed N1 coming up. Okay, ignition, generator lights out. Let's go ahead and turn on our left generator by clicking on it twice. And make sure the light is out. That's good. And we should have turned on the beacon earlier. We should have turned on our no smoking, fasten seatbelt sign on here. So I forgot my beacon light, forgot my seatbelts light, but we're all good there. And hopefully our passengers back there are all fully buckled in and strapped in. That's good. Okay, let's go through our before taxi check here. Okay, let's go ahead and turn on our stall warning indicators. And we'll turn on our pitot heat as well. So our non-shear panel is now fully clear. And one thing we want to do, so in the real aircraft, you might go through a full battery of tests for your first flight of the day especially. I'm just going to go through a sampling of these just to show you, again, the systems depth of those aircraft. There's a lot more to the systems depth than what I'm going to go through in this flight, obviously. As I said, I really do think this is a study level aircraft in its own right, but let's do a quick couple of tests here. I'm going to do the stall warning test just to show you the stick shaker here. Stick shaker, that's pretty cool. And we'll do the right side as well. And you see the stall warning lights illuminating up there on the non-shear panel. That's pretty cool. Let's do the fire detection test. See the fire handles lighting up there, master alarm showing. Overspeed test, Mach trim test. That's just testing the alerts. Cabin altitude, with pressurization, failure alert system works, so that's all good there. Okay, let's do our before taxi check now. Make sure our GPU is disconnected. It is. Chocks are out. Generators are online. And starter disengagement lights are out. Fuel computers checked. Spoilers on checked. We'll go ahead and extend them. Check that the spoiler light comes on. The spoiler switch in this aircraft is kind of interesting. It's this little guarded switch here. It's a little toggle switch. You toggle it forward to retract the spoilers, and you toggle it back to extend it. There's no arm position, so you have to mentally remember in the event of a rejected takeoff, or in the event, or just during any landing, you have to remember to toggle that switch once you touch down. Let's go ahead and retract that. There we go, and make sure the light is out as well. Anti-ATIS, not required really for this flight. Pretty nice and warm out there. No smoking seatbelt sign, we'll check that that's on. Windshield heat, we'll check that that's not required for now, so we're good. Gyro flags, make sure they're all clear. One thing I want to do is turn on the radio altimeter and autopilot power buttons here. That doesn't engage the autopilot, but it does provide power to the system. Okay, hydraulic pressure, we're going to check. Emergency air, check that as well. And let's go ahead and turn on the cabin pressurization here. Turn on the cabin air switch. And make sure that all the gyro flags are cleared on the attitude indicators. That all looks great there. And circuit breakers, we check that they're in. And parking brake released. Then we'll complete our before taxi check. Okay, let's call up Monterey Ground and start taxiing. Monterey Ground, Learjet 5 Delta Mike, ready for taxi with Juliet.
November 5 Delta Mike, Monterey Ground, runway 28 left, taxi via Alpha.
28 left, taxi via Alpha, November 5 Delta Mike. Okay. What you want to do is turn on your nose wheel steering. That way you can use the nose wheel to steer the airplane. And we'll turn on our recognition lights and turn on our taxi lights. And very, very straightforward taxi here. We're just going to hop onto Alpha and then all the way down to 28 left. And let's do our taxi check. Departure runway verified, runway 28 left. Transponder, let's go ahead and turn that on. Altitude reporting. And I'm going to have to do that in my PilotEdge client as well. I am flying on PilotEdge, by the way. Figured it'd be nice to have much more real world type procedures all the way to Sedona this evening. So I'm going to go ahead and squawk mode C on PilotEdge, since for some reason my GTN 750 isn't connected to my PilotEdge client. Okay, let's continue our taxi check. Brakes and steering checked, brake checked, that's good. Flight controls checked, let's go ahead and do that. Let's do a flight controls check. Full left, full right, neutral, full up, full down, neutral. Make sure that our trim is set appropriately, that's good. Make sure that our pitch trim is set to primary as well, that's good. And rudder full left, full right, neutral. Again, the ailerons, elevators, rudder are mechanically linked to the control column and the rudder pedals, so responses are pretty instantaneous. It's a very nimble, agile airplane, and very, very responsive to flight control inputs. Okay, spoilers retracted and light is out. Flaps set to 8 degrees, confirmed, 8 degrees. Trims 3 set, light out. Make sure the takeoff trim light is out. Fuel quantity, we've checked that. Current limiter, lights out. Electrical panel is checked.
5 Mike Victor, you don't appear to be turned direct to Sunol. Turn right heading 0.
Engine instruments checked. Avionics set and reviewed. Thrust reversers, we'll check and stowed. Speed bugs, we've bugged close to V2 there. N1, we've bugged it to reminded us ourselves to set 91% N1 for the takeoff. Pressurization set to flight level 410, verified. Bleed air, cabin air on, that's good.
Ground, Sedona, November.
And of course, coffee, Kona coffee check. Takeoff briefing is completed, taxi check complete. And once we get the whole short lineup ahead, we'll do our before takeoff checklist.
I have information, Victor. November 17 Mike Alpha, you're transmitting on Eagle Tower frequency. We'll change to ground, thank you. Number 5 Mike Victor, just set and maintain 5,000.
Okay, coming up on the whole short line here.
South apron, request taxi for straight out departure. I have information, Victor. November 17 Mike Alpha, you go ground runway 25, taxi via Alpha.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go through our before takeoff checklist here. Parking brake is released, transponder is armed, or transponder is set to mode C. We'll check our PilotEdge client as well to make sure we're squawking mode Charlie, we are. Thrust reversers, we want to arm them in the event of a rejected takeoff. That's done. Pitot heat is on. Anti-ice is required. We don't need it for this departure. Lights, let's go ahead and set landing lights. And we'll set strobes once we're... actually, you know what? We'll put both lights, landing lights, and strobes on once we're clear for takeoff. Cabin air on, stall warning on, and ignition on. So we're going to turn those on for the takeoff. Annunciator panel, normal, that looks good. And departure runway 28 left verified before takeoff checklist complete. Let's go ahead and tune tower here and we'll get going. Tower is 118.4 at Monterey. Monterey Tower, Learjet 9025 Delta Mike, short of 28 left, ready for departure.
9025 Delta Mike, Monterey Tower, runway 28 left, clear for takeoff.
28 left, clear for takeoff, 9025 Delta Mike.
Number 5 Mike Victor, contact approach.
Okay, we're clear for takeoff. Let's go ahead and turn on the strobes, turn on the landing lights.
Number 5 Mike Victor, 123.85.
Now, in the real airplane, of course, this airplane, or this cockpit, is relatively ergonomic, even though it has a lot of switches. It's relatively easy, for instance, to engage the yaw damper or flip the spoiler switch in the real aircraft while keeping your left hand on the control column or the yoke. In Flight Sim, of course, manipulating my SciTech X52 Pro and a mouse at the same time is not very feasible, so I do have some buttons mapped on my X52 to the spoiler, the yaw damper engage button, and as well to maybe some other switches on here. Okay, we're all ready to go here. Let's hold the brakes while moving the throttle forward. Wait for the engines to stabilize, and then we'll set takeoff power of approximately 91% and 1. Use the rudder to try and stay on center line here. $100 knots. V1, rotate. V2, positive rate, gear up, flaps up. And things start happening very, very quickly here, obviously, given how quickly this aircraft can climb and how quickly it can accelerate. We'll try and stay below 200 knots, 1,100 feet. We'll go ahead and turn right to a heading of 329er as per the Monterey 5 departure. And we'll reduce thrust here to try and stay within our speed restrictions. Okay, let's go ahead and accelerate here to 250 knots. And we'll go ahead and engage the autopilot here to help us out. Alt cell and heading. Coming up on 5,000 there, we'll go ahead and start reducing throttle. We're coming up on 6,000 there.
Learjet 925 Delta Mike, contact departure.
Departure Learjet 925 Delta Mike. Departure Lear 5 Delta Mike 6,000.
925 Delta Mike, northbound departure, radar contact. Climb and maintain flight level 190, turn right direct Salinas.
Climb and maintain flight level 190, direct Salinas. November 5 Delta Mike.
Spirit wings 896, change to my frequency 132.95.
Okay, we'll turn right to Salinas.
Centurion 4 Charlie Alpha, clear direct landing.
Direct landing for Charlie Alpha.
And let's go direct Salinas here on the GTN 750. And we'll arm nav mode.
Spirit wings 896, roger.
Okay, we're coming up on 10,000 here.
November 5 Delta Mike, contact Oakland Center 127.45.
Oakland Center 127.45. Number 5 Delta Mike, thank you. Okay, and let's turn off our landing lights here. And we'll turn off the seat belts as well. Oakland Center, good evening. November 925 Delta Mike, climbing through 13.5 for flight level 190.
Learjet 925 Delta Mike, Oakland Center, climb and maintain flight level 410.
Climb and maintain flight level 410, Learjet 925 Delta Mike. Okay, all the way up to your cruising flight level 410. As we leave Monterey behind. And again, with this aircraft, things happen so quickly during the climb. It really, really loves to go fast and to climb. And so you got to make sure you're quick with those throttle inputs and control column inputs, and don't rely entirely on the autopilot like I did during our climb, because the autopilot, even though it'll go into altitude capture mode, can actually sail right through the altitude restriction you had placed in like we did. which is not very, very good, especially on a network like PilotEdge. Okay, we're through flight level 180, 18,000 feet, transition, altimeter reset 29902, and we'll turn off the recognition lights. Okay, let's go through our climb check and our 10,000 transition climb check as well. Landing gear is up, yaw damper is engaged, primary. Thrust reversers, let's go ahead and turn those off. Thrust reversers off. Flaps are up. Let's just make sure the pressurization system is working as it should be. It is. So we're pressurizing the cabin for the climb up to flight level 410. Ignition is out. Ignition is off. Landing taxi lights are off. Autopilot approach light out. Hydraulic pressure check. That looks good. Angle of attack indicator cross check. That looks good. Climb check complete. 10,000 foot check. No smoking seatbelt sign off. Pressurization is checked. 10,000 foot check complete. Then we'll do our transition check. Altimeters 29902 cross checked. Recognition light off, air conditioner off, oxygen pressure check, and transition check complete. Okay. So we're going to climb at, the climb schedule for this aircraft calls for us to climb at 250 knots until we reach flight level 320, and then we climb at Mach 0.7 until we reach our cruising flight level of 410. So that's our plan.
Delta Mike, contact Los Angeles Center 133.2.
Los Angeles Center 133.2, November 925 Delta Mike. Have a good night, so long. Okay, 1332. Okay, we got about 500 to go, or actually no, 1,500 to go. Los Angeles Center, good evening. November 925 Delta Mike, climbing through flight level 398 for flight level 410.
You're 9025 Delta Mike LA Center, hello.
Okay, 1,000 to go.
Flies through the Tango, contact Mike McGrew, approach 124.7. Air 515 through the Tango, Point McGrew, approach Camry, altimeter 3003.
Okay, altitude capture mode.
3211 Echo, Santa Maria Tower.
Coming up on flight level 410 here.
No, 1 Echo, enter runway 30 and altimeter 3006, report Mayfield downwind.
Okay, let's go ahead and set cruise power. Now, the easiest way to do that, for me at least, is not to chase a specific Mach number or a specific N1 setting, but to instead reference the fuel flow indicator here. And I think this is how it's actually done in real life by a number of Lear pilots, is to set your fluid flow to a reasonable number. I'm going to pick 600 pounds per hour. I heard that's a good number to use in the real world. So we're just going to set the fuel flow to 600 pounds per hour per engine. And that's it. all you need to do is set that. And then every once in a while, you're going to monitor your airspeed indicator there. Make sure you don't get too close to barber pole, red line, and MMO there, maximum Mach number. But that's more or less it. The easiest thing to do apparently is just to set your cruise power for a specific fuel flow, as opposed to chasing an N1 or a Mach number, and then just kind of monitor things to make sure you don't get too close to barber pole there on the Mach number. And check once again that our pressurization looks okay. We're all leveled off here, so that's good. Everything looks great. We're cruising at 447 knots ground speed here, and let's check how we're doing. We have a tailwind component of 7 knots, so not a lot. Okay, let's go back to the flight plan page, and I'm going to go to the VNAV page here. And it looks like we have another 40 minutes and 50 seconds to go to our top of descent. So that's looking good. And we still have estimated time en route from here is still another 54 minutes and 30 seconds. And we'll look for top of descent, another 39 minutes. And once again, every once in a while, we just want to monitor the airspeed indicator there, make sure we're not getting too close to barber pole and VMO. And if we are, we'll back off the throttle just a little bit. We don't have auto throttle in this airplane, of course, so everything has to be done manually. No big deal. Let's check in on the cabin here and our passengers. Really well appointed cabin this is. Really nice interior. And Flysimware did an amazing job modeling this for sure. Really am liking it. Let's go ahead and extend those tables there so our passengers can stretch out, do some work, whatever it is they need to do.
Contact LE Center 134.65.
134.65, Piedmont 4715.
Runway 30, good line.
A little bit more of a tailwind component kicking in now, 21 knots. And hopefully that increases the further south we get here, or the further east we get.
Piedmont 4715 left, Vegas approach, altimeter 3020, expect visual approach, runway 26 left. Kilo Tango contact, SoCal approach 124.35.
SoCal approach 12435, November 350, Kilo Tango.
350 Kilo Tango, SoCal approach. Information, runway is not correct, altimeter 3006, expect the visual approach, runway 26 right.
Okay, coming up on Palmdale here. Let's go left to 070.
Two at the same time. Whoever that was, the call was for 5 Zulu Tango.
And that right there is Edwards Air Force Base. And the dry lake bed there. That's pretty awesome. Unbelievably. This is default photorail scenery from P3D. Looks pretty good.
Final 5 Zulu Tango, still coming approach on 73005. No 164 Romeo Alpha, North Las Vegas Tower, to direction of flight. The 350 Kilo Tango, Las Vegas Tower, runway 27 right, clear to land. Five Zulu Tango, contact SoCal approach 134.9er. About 4750 instead of maintain 5,000.
Okay, about 5-6 minutes to go to our top of descent. Ground speed is now 527 knots. Looks like we're pulling a pretty nice, we're sailing on a pretty nice tailwind here. Let's take a look.
4715 Las Vegas Tower.
Ooh, very nice. 79 knot tailwind component there. Wind's now 224 at 103 knots. Really nice tailwind component. We're speeding along to Sedona, Arizona.
The 5 that'll make descent and maintain flight level 290, connect LA Center 124.60.
Descent and maintain flight level 290, contact LA Center 124.60 for Lear 925 Delta Mike, thanks. Okay, clear to descent. Let's go ahead and initiate the descent here. Disengage the altitude hold. Reduce thrust. LA Center, good evening. Lear 925 Delta Mike, descending through flight level 355 for 290.
Lear 925 Delta Mike, LA Center, hello.
Okay, let's go through the descent check here. Windshield hit, aux defog as required, not required. Recognition lights on. Oop, actually we don't need that just now. We'll do that after we've gone through transition. Let's set the cabin pressurization to field elevation here. field elevation is going to be 5,000. Correction, 4,830, so we'll set that. There we go. Close enough. ATIS systems as required, and descent check is complete.
Number 5 out of Mike, contact Albuquerque Center 134.32, good flight.
Albuquerque 134.32, Lear 5 Delta Mike. Thanks, have granted as well, so long. 13432. Oops. Albuquerque Center, good evening. Lear 9025 Delta Mike, descending to flight level 292 for 290.
Number 9025 Delta Mike, Albuquerque Center, descend and maintain 15,000, first altimeter 3024.
Descend and maintain 15,000 altimeter 3024, Lear 5 Delta Mike. Let's see, at a gross weight of approximately 14,000 pounds, VRAP is going to be 123 and approach speed is going to be 130 knots. And let's see if we can pick up the weather here at Sedona. Wind 050 at 10, gusting 15 actually, so it might add a bit of a gust factor correction here. Make it 135. Should close down. That should do it right there. And again, during the descent, you just want to monitor your instruments once again. Make sure the cabin pressurization is doing what it's supposed to be doing, and that you're not passing VMO there on the airspeed indicator. It's all looking good. Right to 087 in 2 seconds. Okay.
Spirit Wings 896, contact Seattle Center 126.6.
Just crossed over the Caddo intersection, headed for Jozo. That's the initial approach fix for the GPS runway 3 approach. Let's real quick brief that approach plate here.
Seattle Center, Spirit Wings 896, 50301, descending via the Hawk 7. Spirit Wings 896, Seattle Center, Seattle altimeter 30.
Okay, GPS runway 3 approach at Sedona. GPS approach, final approach course.
Mike, contact Phoenix approach 133.57.
Phoenix approach 13357, Lear 5 Delta Mike, thanks. Phoenix approach, good evening, Lear 5 Delta Mike, descending through flight level 204 for 15,000.
Good, 9025 Delta Mike, Phoenix approach, roger, Sedona, altimeter 3025. Clear direct Sedona Airport, expect the visual approach, advise when you have the weather.
Altimeter 3025, clear direct Sedona, and we'll advise when we have the weather, Lear 9025 Delta Mike. Okay, we'll proceed direct to Sedona here. And let's go ahead and pick up the weather here at Sedona. 118.0 5-2 is the ATIS. Let's see if we can pick it up. Okay, coming up on transition here. Reset the altimeter 3025. And actually, you know what? Never mind. We're going to be cleared the visual approach for runway 3 quite likely. So disregard this. We're going to land on runway 3 and flaps 40 for landing. Final approach speed will be 132 knots approximately. We're going to land on runway 3 and try and exit on Alpha 4, Alpha 3, and then we'll taxi to the main terminal building and find some parking at the GA ramp there. So that's about it. Pretty straightforward as we continue our descent here. Still not picking up the weather here at Sedona. Now it's 040 at 13, gusting 18, temperature 12, dew point -8, visibility 10 statute miles, clear skies, and altimeter is 3025 still. Okay, let's turn on a recognition light. Let's turn on the no smoking seatbelt sign there. Check the hydraulic emergency air pressure. Ensure we have landing data appropriately set.
Learjet 5 Delta Mike, descend and maintain 10,000.
Descend and maintain 10,000, Lear 5 Delta Mike, and we've got the weather at Sedona.
5 Delta Mike, roger, airport 12 o'clock, 25 miles port side.
Lear 5 Delta Mike is looking. Okay, descend and maintain 10,000.
Spare wings 896, contact Seattle approach 125.6.
Disengage altitude, hold. Let's continue descending here.
Number 715 Mike Tango, radar contact. Maintain VFR, open altimeter 3012.
Maintain VFR, sets up my flight.
And Sedona, of course, is an uncontrolled field.
Seattle approach, spare wings.
And I'm pretty sure I see the airport up ahead.
186, descending via the Hawk 7 with information X-ray. Spare wings 896, Seattle approach, expect visual approach 16 left. I expect the visual 16 left, spare wings 896 wings.
Phoenix Learjet 5 Delta Mike has the field in sight.
November 5 Delta Mike, clear visual approach Sedona Airport.
Clear visual approach Sedona Airport, Lear 5 Delta Mike. Okay, we've been cleared visual approach. Let's go ahead and get our landing lights on. We'll do an approach checklist. Approach checklist, altimeters 3025 set and cross-checked. Recognition lights are on. Belts and harnesses on. Pressurization checked. No smoking seatbelt sign on. Passenger briefing, cabin secured, complete. Circuit breakers checked. Hydraulic emergency air pressure checked. Landing data set. Fuel balanced. Approach briefing completed and approach check is complete. And we'll continue our descent here down to, let's say, 7,300. And let's turn right here. To position ourselves for the approach.
NorCal, mic check.
Calling NorCal loud and clear. November 925 Delta Mike, no traffic observed between you and Sedona Airport. Report cancellation of IFR in the air on this frequency. One on the ground on 122.2. Change to advisory frequency approved.
Change to advisory frequency approved, and we'll advise canceling IFR. Lear 9025 Delta Mike. Okay, advisory frequency 122.2. Let's go ahead and arm the thrust reversers here. Phoenix Lear 925 Delta Mike, we'll go ahead and cancel IFR this time.
5 Delta Mike, roger, IFR cancellation received. Squawk maintain VFR, good day.
Squawk maintain VFR, 5 Delta Mike, thanks, have a great night. Okay, let's go ahead and disconnect the autopilot here. And we'll fly it in manual from this point forward. Sedona traffic, Learjet 925 Delta Mike, 6 miles to the south. We'll be making a straight in for runway 03, Sedona. Okay, let's extend flaps 8. Start getting the gear down. Flaps 20. Okay, let's go flaps 40. Sedona traffic, Learjet 5 Delta Mike, 2 mile final, runway 03, full stop, Sedona. We're a little high, but we'll get back on glide path shortly. There we go. 3 white, 1 red. And let's do our landing checklist here. Flaps 40. Landing gear down, 3 green. Landing taxi lights on, thrust reversers armed, anti-skid on, hydraulic pressure checked, autopilot disengaged, yaw damper off, and before landing checklist complete. Okay, spoilers out, reverses, normal, and let's start braking. 80 knots, 60 knots, reversers stowed, Spoilers retracted. And we'll exit on Alpha 3 here. Adjusting the flare can be a little tricky. Nose wheel steering on. Let's go ahead and taxi off here. Judging the flare can be a little tricky given that obviously there's no radio altitude callouts. So you're just going completely off the sight picture that you had when you took off. Alright, we're down on the ground here at Sedona. Really fun flight in this beautiful aircraft on PilotEdge. We'll stop here momentarily, disconnect from PilotEdge, and actually, well, let me make a call here real quick. Sedona traffic, Lear 9025 Delta Mike is clear of the active Sedona. Okay, we'll disconnect from PilotEdge here and check out a couple of quick replays of that landing, and then we'll taxi on into the general aviation ramp and shut down. Okay folks, welcome back. Bit of a firmer landing than I was looking for there, but not too bad. As for right now, let's go ahead and do our after landing checklist. One other thing I forgot to do, by the way, is during the before landing checklist, make sure my air ignition switches were set to on. That's something you want to do prior to landing. And during the after landing check, you turn them off again. Okay, after landing check, let's go ahead and turn off the stall warning switches. Let's disarm the thrust reversers. Make sure that our spoiler is retracted. No steering on. And let's turn off our cabin air. Pitot heat and alcohol off. As we continue taxiing up here to the business jet ramp. Windshield, defog, nacelle, stab wing, all that is good. Lights, let's go ahead and turn off the landing lights. Should have done that earlier. Taxi light, and we'll turn off the recognition and strobe lights as well. And coming up here on the ramp, let's go ahead and turn off the taxi lights as well. Right click. Okay, hydraulic pressure check. Spoilers are retracted. Flaps, let's go ahead and retract the flaps. As we turn into the ramp here, and we'll go park beside that other Learjet. Unnecessary avionics off. We can go ahead and turn off the autopilot master and the radio altimeter. And after landing checklist complete. After landing checklist complete for now. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and pull perpendicular to this parking spot here. Okay folks, the ground crew has pushed us back into our parking spot here. Passengers have disembarked. Let's go ahead and secure the aircraft. Shocks are in, sunshades are on, engine plugs on. And we're going to overnight the aircraft here in beautiful Sedona, Red Rock, Arizona. Really fun flight in the Learjet 35A as the sun sets here in Arizona. Again, it is a real handful to fly. It requires a fair amount of work. It requires a fair amount of the pilot mentally staying ahead of the airplane in order to fly it and fly it well. But it is a really fun airplane to fly, and I recommend it highly. Be prepared, though, to invest a fair amount of time after you purchase it in studying up on it, getting your hands on flight manuals. There's training manuals and flight manuals on the internet. Pretty easy to find if you start looking for them. You can find some links to get you started on the apps and forums. But be prepared to invest some time in really learning how to fly this airplane. And it is a real joy to fly. I think you'll certainly enjoy it. Okay, folks, thanks again for watching this latest iteration in my Check Out Flight video series. As always, if you like this content, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll look forward to catching you in a future flight and a future video. Take care. Bye-bye.